Hello and welcome to another episode of R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, Editor-in-Chief, and today we're talking about rebranding, chemistry, and choosing the right solution for you. Our special guests today are Robin Minocchio, partner and owner of ProKlean, Jason Gillis, partner and owner, and Ken Bazar, Director of Education. Welcome, everybody.
Good
Hey, good
morning.
morning, Kayla.
Good morning. Happy winter for you guys, right? Experiencing the
Yes.
nice cold
Oh,
weather.
yeah. Full
I'd like
effect.
to thank you guys for coming on and joining me today. We're going to talk about all things ProKlean, which I think is really cool, very familiar in this industry. But we're going to give a little bit of background of not only who you guys are, what you guys offer, and maybe get to know a little bit more about all of you guys. So, first and foremost, I think most people know who you guys are, but we're going to talk about ProKlean, which was recently rebranded. But also, what does this mean for your guys' selves, your customers, and the industry? It's a very cool name. Love the logo. So, Robin, what does it mean to you guys, and what does it represent as a whole to this industry?
So ProClean currently is in growth mode. We originally were known as ProCure. ProCure still exists, but it predominantly exists for the medical marijuana grow facilities. So ProClean is taking the approach to be more all-encompassing, adding new chemistry lines. We rebranded the name ProCure to ProClean Restore, and then have EPA registered products and then non-EPA products. And we're also coming out with a Jansan line by the end of Q1 that will be more encompassing for all of our restorers, but also people in the Jansan and other arenas as well.
So cool to hear that. And thank you for a little bit of the history too, just for people who may not really know that what happened,
Mhm.
but also what you guys actually do service. Jason shared some great information with us just a little bit ago. Excuse me. And I can't wait for him to kind of dive into that too. But, Ken, Jason, do you have anything to add to what Robin just mentioned? What this means for the industry and the customers and your guys' selves, right? You guys are growing and expanding into really different markets, if you will, because of the products you offer. But for somebody who may be new to the industry, what does ProClean mean to them?
Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, I mean, for me, I've been doing this a long time with this, with our initial chemicals, our chlorine dioxide based, and always had the desire to expand it, and I get calls all the time, and people say, "Well, what do I use here?" And we didn't have that tool, and thankfully, Jason and Robin had the vision to see that, and being the fact that we are a chemical manufacturing company, it made no sense for us not to have everything
Right.
as an arsenal, and for the contractor, what's unique about this is, not only can we provide them with chemicals that are superior in our minds, obviously, but we can cover all bases, right? So they don't have to think about, where do we go to get what we need. It's going to be a tremendous Q1 because we're going to be able to provide tools and ammunition, so to say,
Mhm.
for our contractors to never have to fail. And that's our biggest thing is we don't want contractors. We want to be able to generate more throughput, but for them to be able to minimize any type of challenges that they have in the chemical world. Obviously, we have to stick to our lane, and we're good at what we do.
100%, 100%. Jason?
Yeah, I would just agree with all of that. I mean, it just for us now, the umbrella that we provide with the variety of chemicals across the board allows us to be a one-stop shop for the contractor. And, when Kenny talks about throughput and profitability, our chlorine dioxide lines force you to not fail and to do things quicker and more profitable. And now that we've, unloaded everything else that we're unloading with the chemical side, from peroxide cleaners to sealants to glass cleaner to carpet cleaners and tile cleaners, et cetera, we just become a one-stop shop for everybody. It just, helps us build that relationship, maintain that relationship, and just the trust that we deliver and, deliver the solution that, you know, it's going to happen quicker and faster and effectively and more profitable.
Well said, all three of you guys. And I would like to say before we jump into the chemistry side of things, Jason, can you kind of expand on what the products actually are that you guys offer? I know you shared a couple with me, and also mention where your facility is for those who are listening.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of people don't know this. So we are a chemical manufacturer. We have 17 acres under roof in Montgomery, Alabama, where we are manufacturing chemicals all day. We have blow mold lines where we're making all of our own plastics, and we make anything in a chemical from two-stroke engine oil to um, windshield washer fluid to antifreeze to cleaners to greasers, granite cleaner, peroxide cleaners, carpet shampoos, everything. So we're just putting liquid in a bottle. We manufacture for a ton of people out there, the Walmarts, the Home Depots, the Costcos, and we're just, for us, a lot of people just don't know that. So we're bringing it to the table for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really important because we talked about this before we hit record, but people know you based on what they use, right? They don't always understand really the magnitude of what you guys are doing there at ProKlean, right? And so I wanted to make sure that we took a moment to talk about that. And Robin, you mentioned you guys are going to add more and more stuff by the end of Q1, and I know you briefly mentioned it, but what does it mean for you guys to continually, produce new products or evolve your guys' products? Because I want people to really understand that you guys are always bumping those gears in your mind and saying, okay, how can we fix things? How can we change things? How can we make things better? So for
Right.
those listening, listen to what Robin, Jason, and Ken have to say because they're actually listening to what your feedback is and how they can make things better. So what does that all really mean for you guys, Robin?
So what we like to do is continuing with the small storage footprint, we're going to bring out a new line in the Jansan area, which is also just add water line. So we like to have people be able to have maximize their space, not take up a lot of room in their trucks when they're doing jobs, et cetera, and help them, like Jason said, maximize profitability, cut down on the storage footprint, and then provide products that will easily help them be successful in all their jobs.
Amazing. See, everybody listening, working on what works best for you. We know that there's limited space in your trucks, but also ease of use, right? I think that's the other thing is, it's really hard to shovel through things in your equipment in your trucks, right? And if you all have big jugs or machinery in there, adding another thing doesn't make it any easier, right? So it's really cool to kind of hear how you guys are evolving. So now we've kind of talked about, who you guys are, what you guys offer. Now let's get into the chemistry side of things where I know Ken is just waiting to chomp at the bit to talk about these things. So, for those listening who may not fully understand the chemistry, what are the key differences between your products? And I'm going to focus specifically here on the gas and the liquid side of things. What are the differences there, Ken?
Well, the difference in the industry when you compare our chemistry, we use chlorine dioxide. It's ClO2, right? So when people first look at this, there's a tendency to look at the chlorine molecule that's tied into our chemistry, and that scares some people, honestly. But what's great about it is that the extra oxygen molecule changes the genetic makeup, right? So chlorine dioxide is extremely safe if it's used correctly. And what makes us unique is that the methods at which we attack pathogens, viruses, things like that, is different because we're an oxidizer. So we attack the structure from the outside in instead of from the inside out, right? So what makes us unique is when you're using a traditional method, and I use that terminology loosely in the respect that your thymals, your quaternary ammoniums, your basic disinfectants and antimicrobials that are out there, they have to be ingested and digested, right? So they have to go through this process to be able to eradicate or eliminate what you want to do. What separates us is we attack that structure from the outside in. So to make it simplified is we just go after it. We're just give a deeper kill. What separates us also is that our chemistry is not only an antimicrobial, but it's also a deodorizer. We break down all organic matter. So fecal, urea, uric salts, mercaptan, everything that the restoration world deals with on a daily basis. We have the ability to eradicate. Now, we're not a masking agent. So it's important to understand that we're not, that once you use our chemistry correctly and you follow protocol, you should never fail. You should never have a situation where you get called back. Obviously, there's always going to have some things that happen, But the one thing I do also want to tell everybody is that we're not a magic pill, right? So everything that you currently do, you still have to do source removal and all the things that go on in the restoration world still go on. It just we're going to be able to generate and show people how to solve problems much faster, much sooner. What's unique for us is that we ship dry. So our chemistry comes to you in a dry pouch and you generate it as you need it. So we're not ready to use, but we're ready to generate. Now, where this comes in is what Robin said, is being able to provide, space, right? So if you look at, if you look at our product lines in the liquid and gas aspect, 16 cases of our liquid product is equal to a 56-foot trailer of gallon bottles of liquid.
Wow.
So for anywhere from the small contractor, and this is the other uniqueness, is we can have the small contractor be able to complete projects that they normally couldn't, okay? And all the way up to the large loss contractors being able to do massive projects. We have the flexibility with our science and our system to be able to do that. Now, just very simply, what separates liquid and gas, the only thing that separates the two is H2O, water. So chlorine dioxide is always a gas, even when it's suspended in water. So what I like to make jokes about it, but I say the water molecule is the Uber driver to the organics. So it's the Uber driver takes our chemistry to the organics and allows us to break it down. Then you follow up with our gas delivery system, because our gas delivery system is extremely small molecule. It gets in the nooks and crannies. So the tandem is what you would traditionally use for most projects. And using the tandem with protocols, I mean, we have, obviously, as we get deeper into our conversation here, we can highlight some projects that we've done. But we've done some unbelievable projects from anywhere from a vehicle to the most recent large one was a 10.5 million cubic foot clothing manufacturing company. So that ability gives contractors the freedom and the confidence to never have to turn away a project.
That's amazing. Thank you for breaking that down, because I think sometimes when people go through the process of selecting their products, they get overwhelmed, right? They may feel like, I don't know if I could really handle this, or does this really fit my business? And then there's always costs, and then where am I going to put this, right? To your point, some of this stuff can take up a lot of space. And so if you're an independent, you may not necessarily have unlimited space, maybe like a franchise has a warehouse or what have you. So, there's a lot of things that our contractors have to weigh. And you just really broke it down and said, hey, we'll service you. We have the right products for you, and you don't have to worry about space, right? I think that's the other thing, but also the science, what you guys do behind all of your products. And we're just focusing on two pieces of what you guys actually do. And, I know we'll have future conversations about all the other products that you guys provide for not just this industry, but others. But you mentioned scenarios, and you kind of dove into two of them. Now, I want to kind of hear a little bit more, and I think this will also put things into perspective for those listening. Can you maybe share, to your point, a smaller job and then like a large scale, large loss job, so people can really grasp how you guys are able to help their business in all ways, on all sizes of jobs?
Mhm.
Ken?
Yeah, I mean, and Jason and Robin, please step in here too. I mean, we can be used, and we have been used very very recently on vehicles. If you're turning over a vehicle, somebody smoked in it, you could use our product to eradicate that. I just did this morning. I just did a consultation, and that's the other uniqueness of our system. See, one of the things that happens in the chemical world is people sell a chemical, it goes out to a distributor, to one of our distributors, and then they sell it, and then they're on their own, right? And how many of us have ever read the directions on anything? Especially, I mean, right? I mean, most people just don't do that. What's unique about our system and our team is that we're here to help contractor all the time. I spend most of the day on the phone with contractors, taking them through different projects. But getting back to your question, I mean, we have a vehicle. I just this morning did a house that a dog was skunked, and so I went through the protocol with the contractor. and he's a small contractor and scared to death. It was his first time doing it, so we kind of held his hand, talked him through it, and he'll have success because not just because of what he's doing, and hopefully he listens, but because the technology doesn't fail if you use it properly. Without question. I mean, I would say probably 90% of the projects are going to be liquid and gas. Okay, because you're getting nooks and crannies and you're getting taken care of surface. But you will have projects that will be gas only. One project that comes to mind, which that Jason mentioned, was a big box retailer in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Had a fire. Somebody had lit a fire in the store, and it was a 24-hour store. And they said, we're not going to shut the store down. So traditionally, when you use our gas product, it's going to be an unoccupied space. Okay, it's a respiratory irritant during the process, so we have to be careful, and safety is everything for us also. So we're very, very careful on education, which we'll talk about later. But so they said, we're not shutting the store down. So okay, here's the dilemma: how do we? They had about 30,000 square foot of clothing that they wanted to try and save, and you can't put liquid on clothing or it's not considered new. That's another uniqueness of the gas product is there's never any type of thing that's going to be attached to the clothing, right? So we built a containment inside the store, containment tent inside the store, and we use gas only. So that was a gas only. Now they use liquid in the rest of the store on the floors and the walls and things like that. But we built a tent, and then we gassed them overnight. So within 8 hours of exposure, we were able to reset that store with all of that clothing odor free. So Walmart loved us. And or
the
the big box
the important part right there was 8 hours, right? Versus traditional equipment that most of these contractors have with hydroxyls or orozones or whatever else they're using. An 8-hour throughput is pretty quick for deodorization.
Didn't interrupt their business at all.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't shut the store down at all. We just built this tent inside the store. So that's your gas only. And then you'll have projects where you can't put liquid on, like Persian rugs and things that are not color fast. And this is all through education. We educate the contractor or the technicians on how to do this, and then fast forward to I guess 3 months ago, we did a project in North Carolina with a clothing manufacturing company where we deodorized 10.5 million cubic feet after a fire with $40 million worth of clothing inventory. And we did that process all within, the liquid process took about 2 days, 3 days, because they didn't want, there was circumstances that were there. But the gassing process where we deodorized the whole building, we did in under 12 hours.
Wow.
10.5 million cubic feet in under 12 hours. So we set them off at 9 o'clock at night. We cleaned them up 5:30 in the morning. They had an air out period of time so they could reoccupy. And they were back remanufacturing. The business interruption that we saved them for the carrier was just enormous. They were losing $1 million a day.
Yeah, I would definitely say too for both of those examples and even the car example, interruption for people just in general, not even in the business space. Like, yes, in commercial space and business, it's huge, but also people's lives, right? If that was their only means of transportation and you had to work on their vehicle, what does that mean for them, right? I think really there's less interruption, but also you're able to educate and inform during the entire process, right? And also tailoring your service to what needs the customers actually do have, right? To your point, the Walmart situation, we know that they're not shutting down unless they absolutely have to, right? Like it have to be something catastrophic. And if they can navigate that and you guys can navigate that, they didn't lose any business, right? It didn't cost them any time or closing their doors. Obviously, it did cost them money. So I won't say it didn't cost them money, but they were still able to make money at the end of the day, right?
Well, and if you look at that particular situation, right, what would it have cost them to replace that 30,000 square foot of clothing?
Yeah.
Right. So when you take a look at the profit that we generated for the contractor, the ability to get the store re-engaged as normal activity, overnight. I mean, you can't really put a dollar figure on it, right? I mean, it's all about what we can do to minimize exposure of different for everybody, for the carrier, for the contractor, for the client. I mean, it really does cross over a lot of different areas. I mean, it's something like I was working even let's take a look yesterday. I was all day yesterday. I was on the phone with an equipment company, large equipment company, talking about how to deodorize their desiccants coming out of all these different locations, and you know, spent most of the day with doing that yesterday. And what's great about it is they called me this morning. He's like, unbelievable, it worked. We did it last night. It worked. And I mean, we're just saving. And I think that's the most exciting part about what we do,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's fun to be able to truly help people get back and do things that they just couldn't do normally.
And Kayla, just, we didn't create the chemistry. Chlorine dioxide's been around forever, right? We just created the pouch to allow you to mix it on site. If anybody drank water today, they use chlorine dioxide to make it safe to treat so you could drink it, right? So, Kenny, could you highlight one more? And that would just be an air quality one using the gas. What a lot of people are doing it with the VOCs and our patent
Yeah.
pending on the VOCs and, air quality with contractors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the things that Robin and Jason's guidance and we originally were a one trick pony, right? I mean, we had chlorine dioxide, we had an EPA registered liquid and gas application, and then they said, we need to come out with something that's different. So we actually came out with a non EPA registered chlorine dioxide. So if you don't have to make a kill claim, we can offer that at a less expensive price point, which generates more profitability.
Right.
But what Jason's saying is our EPA registered gas product on our EPA registered is registered to clean the air you breathe. Now, where this falls into line is if you're a contractor doing a mitigation project and you have to pass on air quality, you can use our product as a final step before you do any type of air quality testing. Now, listen, we can't guarantee zeros because there's so many different elements, but we've been pretty close on a lot of projects. And what's unique about that is that we break down all VOCs, volatile organic compounds, when you're doing that. So, in this project in Mebane, we actually did a VOC test for the IH that was on site and passed with flying colors because that was one of the biggest things is this clothing is going to go out to the public. Is it going to have volatile organic compounds attached to it? So we were able to eliminate all that in all that clothing in the process of deodorizing the building. So yeah, I mean, again, we don't have enough time to really highlight all the great projects that we've done. And what's exciting is I do see the contractors that are really enveloped into our system are just having such great wins. I mean, it's just it's fun to talk to them at this point.
What I would say too, just to kind of touch on like how you guys operate, you guys actually talk to your customers, right? Like they're not calling somewhere and talking to someone that maybe doesn't even understand the industry. That's one really cool thing about you guys too, is you guys actually work with the contractors and even the carriers and your customers, right? I'm sure if a customer calls you, you're going to answer the question. So I just really, really want to take a second to really highlight that because it's you guys are boots on the ground too, right? And it's really important for people to understand that if you need to call and talk to somebody, you're going to talk to the team. I know Ken's on the phone quite a bit, so
Yeah.
it's just really cool to kind of see that because not only do you guys have the use case scenarios, you also are able to work with the contractors when they're in these situations. So you guys understand where there's gaps or maybe misunderstandings in the field, which really helps you guys understand where you guys need to capitalize on training, right? Like we know that that's really big for you guys. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of training, Jason and Robin, what does it mean for you guys to provide that training to the contractors directly instead of them maybe going elsewhere to receive the education?
Well, I mean, for me, it allows the tool to be handed off to the contractor, whether, as Kenny's point earlier, it could be a, small two-person crew or it could be a large crew that, once they truly understand and have the training of our products, it allows them to take on any job that they want. They don't have to walk away from any job. I mean, I tell people all the time, from an odor aspect, as long as you've done source removal, we will make sure that you're successful. I don't care if you're a one-person crew or you got 1,000 people, but educating them so that they understand what to do in the process is key for us. And it's just because we want them to be successful and we want them to be profitable and we want them to be successful so they can go get more jobs and just build their business. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, we had a project, I mean, from a service standpoint, we had a project where was the project, Kenny, in Illinois, where it was an aircraft project where
Muncie, Indiana.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
let's
called
see.
up, had an aircraft project, and they needed to have stuff, right away. And UPS was going to be down with the holiday, so loaded up in the truck, delivering it, right? That's the type of people that we are. So
Yes.
we'll do it.
Yeah, I mean,
So we're
I
always
mean, I
here.
think, yeah, what I think, when people start to understand, I think the reason education is big for us, honestly, is just getting people to understand what makes us different, right? I mean, what makes us different is important because once a contractor understands, listen, the one thing about the restoration industry that I've noticed over the years is that people spend a lot of time on education, continuing education, right? The IICRC does a great job. I mean, like just being able to envelop yourself and get smarter at what you do. So you can understand drying, you can understand all these different tools that you have. Our system, the ProKlean system, is just another tool. Now, what makes us unique in our is that when you use our tool compared to other technologies, and I'll give a quick example. When and again, not I don't want to get hung by the tongue, so to say, right? I'm just talking science. When you use our tool as compared to a hydroxyl generates a molecule that only lasts 9 to 10 seconds. Hence, needs to be a lot of air movement. Okay, and there can be occupied space. It's a great tool. When you use our tool correctly in the right environment, our molecule lasts 12 hours. So as a deodorizer, there's nothing better. I mean, we can do things that other technologies can't do, not because of us, but because, like Jason said, the science has been around a long time. It's not something new. It's just now it's newer to the restoration industry because that the tool has just never been put in a form where they can put it in a foil package and you could travel anywhere in the world with it. I mean, you could fly through TSA right with one of these packets in your bag and be able to disinfect or deodorize anywhere in the world. I mean, it's a tremendous tool.
And with the training aspect, just having everybody understand the technology and what it can do, like our approval for HVAC. Both of our products are approved for HVAC systems, right? We have a VOC elimination, so people understand VOC elimination. If it's a fuel treatment with an odor, if it's a disinfectant in a hospital, we're a hospital grade disinfectant, just so that everybody fully understands what we're capable of doing, right? With
Mold
these,
inhibitor.
yeah, with these chemistries.
Right.
Well, I would definitely say to your guys' point, there's just so much to understand about what you guys can actually do, what your products can actually do, and the differences that they actually do make. And I think a great point is training is everything. You could have these products, but if you don't know how to properly use them, or to your guys' point, load reduction, like if you don't, remove the source or load reduction, there's no point, right? Any product you use isn't going to work efficiently and
Exactly.
effectively, right?
Right.
The one thing I will say though, because I think one of the things that happens is as a group talk about these things, and it, I want to make sure that people understand that it's easy to use our stuff.
Yes.
It's not rocket science. As much as I get into the science and I can go into molecular structures and I can baffle you with a bunch of BS. It's super simple. You take inside our foil pouches is a white Tyvek pouch. You drop it into a volume of water. You allow it to come to full strength, and now you're able to spray it. As our gas product, our delivery system is a cup or our Rhino, which is so it's simple.
Hmm.
The nuances obviously change based on each project, and that's where we don't want people to get. I don't want people to get caught in the weeds of, oh my God, this is just so crazy to understand. It's super simple.
It's
It's
just
super
dis it's
simple.
just disruptive technology because we're not an RTU, right? We're ready to generate. You're not just gurgling it right out of a gallon. You got to mix it. I mean, but to Kenny's point, it's pretty simple. If you can mix tea, you can mix our product, right? And when you're mixing our product, from a profit standpoint too, you mix our large volume 25 gallon mix at like $3.80 a gallon. I mean, that's way, way more cost effective than 12s to 20s to everything else for people. That's just straight cost profit, for those people.
Great points. I would definitely say too, ease of use is extremely important. I know you guys have that nailed down. So if you're listening, you're like, wow, I feel like I am overloaded on the information, just understand that these people right here on this call understand what it's like if you have to do a ton of steps or if you have to phone a friend to mix things properly. That's why their stuff is so easy to use. And that's why they say, it's in a pouch, you mix the pouch. I mean, come on, if you can make a cup of tea, you know how to do it. And most importantly, if you were ever worried, you could call. Like that's the other thing is you
That's
don't have
it.
to worry about that. It doesn't have to be as scary as you may make it seem. And we know that when you have to take a lot of steps, that's where mistakes can happen, right? Especially if you're going down a mental checklist, like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this. Well, you guys alleviate that with the way you guys package your products. So I know you guys have mentioned that education is key, but also safety, right? We know that those go hand in hand. So, last question for all of you guys, you know, when it comes to training, in the education of things, why is it so crucial for you guys to make sure that people are understanding the full performance of your guys' products, but also the safety benefits? I know you guys talked about this briefly, but what does that really look like for you guys when you're breaking it down to a customer? And I'll start with Robin here, and then we'll kind of go down the line.
Okay, so to Ken's point, our product is very simplistic to use. So as long as you mix it and generate it at the right strength for whatever it is you're treating, whether you're using it as an antimicrobial or whether you're doing a deodorization, project, having success if you follow the directions, not even necessarily a protocol, but just the simple directions, you will not fail. You will not fail. It's that easy to use. We have cups, as Kenny pointed out. We have equipment which is an air mover that some people like to put lay flat on if they're trying to pipe in air to other areas or doing a large space. It's just very, very simple, easy to use, and you have great success if you follow the directions. And Kenny does webinars every day. We'll train your team. We'll walk you through any projects that you may have so you have the most success possible.
And I think you said something key there. Follow the directions, right? I
That's
think we're all
it.
guilty of, personal life where you're like, I can put this furniture together. I don't need the directions, right? This is a time where directions must be followed for you to gain the maximum benefits of the products you were using, right? And it's not like it's a 50-step process. Just understand that it is important for you to read and understand, what you're mixing, how much you're mixing, and why, right? Like there's
The
different
volume
scenarios.
water game. That's all it is. Each pack is pre-measured. You honestly, you just follow directions. If it's 25 gallons, it's 25 gallons of water. If it's 5 gallons, it's 5 gallons of water. It's that simplistic.
Perfect. Jason, thoughts?
Yeah, just thoughts. I mean, to your point on instructions, even the QR code. So we have them in Spanish and English, right? From a safety standpoint, what's key to understand is that because safety is the number one thing for us, is that the gas products, whether you're using our deodorizing DFG or our EPA registered FG, they are a respiratory irritant at all times. So you need to have PPE, right? So, and a PPE for us is acid organic P100 cartridge respirator for that instance. Our hospital grade disinfectant does not require PPE. You can spray and go. It's not a respiratory irritant. It's not a skin irritant. You can spray and go. So that doesn't require PPE. Our deodorizing liquid, which is mixed at a much higher strength, does require PPE. So we want to make sure that people are in that P100 acid organic respirator for that situation. But those are the three scenarios that you would use PPE for our product, which, if people are doing certain projects anyway, they're already in PPE. But for our gas, both gas and our deodorizing liquid, you need to be in PPE with the respirator. So that's the key thing for us. But to everybody's point, it's pretty simplistic. I mean, there's a QR code in here. If you're Spanish and you want it in Spanish, it's here in Spanish. Or if you want it in English, it's in English, and it's pretty remedial. It's just disruptive technology, right? Just remember, you're mixing tea, not Kool-Aid. It's not a cut and pour. You're just putting the pouches in there. You're mixing tea.
But we all know it.
Do it based on the given amount of water it tells you to
Right.
do it.
I was
Mhm.
definitely going to say we all know how everybody has a different taste when it comes to Kool-Aid, right? So that's a great analogy right there. Let me tell you.
That's Kenny's. I steal that from Kenny.
Kenny, final thoughts to add to Jason and Robin?
Yeah, I mean, they've covered everything on that side of it. I mean, it's the one thing I want people to understand on the safety side is, the liquid side of our product, there's never skin toxicity, right? So you're not going to hurt you're not going to hurt yourself at any strength. Now, at our professional strength, at our pro strength, on our deodorization, and you're definitely going to want to wear PPE. But if you're doing a biotrauma, which we're heavily involved in, you're going to be in PPE anyway, like Jason said, right? So, I mean, again, we're not a magic pill. I think the best thing to do, which we do a lot of, is once somebody decides to move forward with our system, is we'll spend as much time doing webinars with their technicians, with their staff on site if we can be. I mean, so we're here for them. And I just want people to know that we're only a phone call away. Don't fake your way through it. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is not asking for help, right? Ask for help, or if you have a question, take 2 seconds and give me a buzz, and I'll be more than happy to spend the time, getting you up to speed on exactly what to do.
Or utilizing our calculator app on our website. We have a calculator app on our website. Contractors can go in there and plug in based on the scope of the project, whether it's deodorization, if it's a fire loss, if it's a disinfectant, if it's clean the air that you breathe. And all they do is plug in the room size that they have it. It automatically calculates what they need to use for that project and gives them an SOP that they can cut, copy, paste, and send it to the guy out in the field.
Wow, that's amazing. Honestly, look at you guys sharing all these resources and they're at your fingertips, right? That's the other thing is these resources are at your fingertip, even if it is a phone call away. And just to kind of echo what you guys have all said, I believe that the only bad question that you could ever have is the one you don't ask, right? And so take a second to just ask. I mean, chances are somebody else has the same question, right? And not only does it help you and your team, but it also helps the team here on this, ask the expert to be able to say, okay, hey, this is a question that was raised. How can we address it, right? So then now you've probably solved some problems down the road for other people. And I think that's how our industry really does thrive, is just ask a question. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is you get the answer, you're like, I should have known that, right? And that's not even that
Yeah.
bad of a situation at all because now it's forever ingrained in your brain. But I really want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to spend your day with me and talk about all things ProKlean. But also for all of you listening, now you guys have a little bit more insight of what all they're working on, what they provide, and the team all here just talking about all the things that you guys do. So thank you guys so much for joining me today on this episode of Ask the Expert. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you, Caleb, for
Thank you,
having us.
Kayla.